Alright guys, so today is the first video lesson that I'm officially making while being gone. And so this is, I know we talked about topic 2 a little bit a while back, but this is the official start of topic 2 or unit 2. Okay? And so this unit is all about graphing. Okay, it's all about graphing. So we have some experience in graphing from like 6th and 7th grade. We're really going to hone in on that, and we're going to get really good at graphing. Okay, now we're not just graphing points. Okay, we're not just trying to graph a singular point. We're graphing what we call linear equations. Now the word linear in math really refers to a straight line. Okay, we're talking about straight lines here, so we're going to be graphing straight lines for a little while. And so it's very important you watch the entire video because this is going to be a really deep, in-depth lesson. And you'll get to use these notes because you will have homework that you'll start and that will be due on Monday. So make sure you really take into account or really learn what we're doing today. So part 1, though, is we are not going to be graphing a line just yet. We're going to remember how to graph points, okay? And so let's remember everything about a graph. Well, we have 2 axes, okay? The axes are the lines that produce the graph. Now, which axis is this that runs horizontally? This is it's labeled on there already. This is the x-axis, okay? That is the x-axis, and now this axis right here is our y-axis. Okay, and those are the only 2 axes we have. Now, you'll notice the axes split up the graph into 4 different quadrants. Okay, this is quadrant 1, this is quadrant 2, this is quadrant 3, and this is quadrant 4. Okay, we have to remember that. They start here and they go counterclockwise this way. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, and so on this graph that I provided for you, it's numbered. If we look at the x-axis, the middle is 0. You see the 0? Then it counts up just like a number line. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on that way. Then it goes negative this way, -1, -2, just like that. And the y-axis is the same, except when it goes up, it becomes positive. When it goes down, it becomes negative. Now, we call this point in the middle, okay, we have a special name for that. We call this the origin. Let's go ahead and write that word. We call this the origin. Okay, this point in the middle is called the origin. Hopefully we remember that from 7th grade. But the origin is just the start of the entire graph. Now, let's come over. There are 6 points for us to graph. So these right here are called coordinate pairs. Okay? That's what these are right here. Because they're 2 numbers, and so they make a pair, and they're coordinates, meaning you find the point on the graph. Now, you might remember how to do that already, and if you do, that is awesome. Okay, so every coordinate pair has 2 numbers. The left number is going to be an x value. Okay, let's go ahead and write this. There's going to be an x value on the left, and the right number is going to be your y value. So what that means for us is this 1 is an x value, and this 4 is a what type of value? It's a y value. So I'm putting an x above here and a y above here just right now. So the reason I do that is because that tells us how to graph over here. So we want to graph the point 1, 4. So what we're going to do is we're going to find 1 on the x-axis, okay, because that is an x value. So we go to 1 on the x-axis. Then we go to 4 on the y-axis. So 1 up 4. And that is our point right there. Okay? That is the point 1, 4. Now, that's labeled with an A, so I'm going to go ahead and just label that point A. So hopefully we're catching on to what we're doing here. Let's go to point B. Well, this is the x value of -3 and then a y value of 6. So -3 on the x value. Well, if we go to the x-axis, -3 is right here. Then we have 6 on the y-axis. That's a positive 6, so we're going to go up to 6 from there. Okay, so there we have it. We have -3, 6, and that is point B. All right, so we're good with those. Okay, point C, we have 4, -4. So that's the x, that's the y. We will find 4 on the x-axis, then go down to -4 on the y. Okay, make sure we always pay attention to our positives and our negatives here, just like with everything else. All right, so now we have 0, -4. Okay, so 0 is in the x. So that means on the x-axis, we do not go left to right. We just stick at 0. Then the y is -4, so we go 0 for the x, then we go down to -4 for the y. Okay, now you'll notice that is not really in a quadrant. This is actually on the y-axis. Okay, this sits on the y-axis, whereas this is in the fourth quadrant, this is in the first, that's in the second. This is on an axis. Okay, now this will be similar. Okay, let's find -3 on the x-axis. Then the second number, 0, means don't move from there. Don't go up or down. So right here is going to be point E for us. Okay, now that sits on the x-axis. Okay, and then lastly we have -5, -4. Okay, so -5 means go on the x-axis to -5. Then -4 means find -4 on the y. So that is going to be right here. Okay, and that is point F. All right, cool, good stuff. So we're not connecting these or anything. That's just we wanted to make sure we remembered how to graph. So you have to. So I made a note right here. You must go ahead and start there. You must know how to graph points in order to be successful here, because if you can't even graph a point, you definitely can't graph the lines that we're going to be doing. Now the title of this page is called slope-intercept form, because let's go ahead and look at our notes here. We're going to learn about what we call linear equations. Okay, there are 3 forms of linear equations. The form we're going to learn about today is called slope-intercept form. Go ahead and hit that with a couple more underlines. Slope-intercept form. Okay, now let's look right here. Slope-intercept form is written as y equals mx plus b. Now, right now, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense, I know, but let's explain it. So, first thing let's do is let's go ahead and write it ourselves. Y equals mx plus b. All right, so that doesn't make much sense right off the bat till we realize every variable here has a meaning. Okay, those all are different variables. They all have meanings. Now, the 2 main ones we want to know about right now are the m, go ahead and underline that, and the b. Okay, so the m is what's known as the slope. Okay, and then the b is what's known as the y-intercept. And these sound a little strange at first, but I promise we're going to understand it. And for right now, let's just leave the x and y alone. Let's just call it x and y. So over here in our notes, m equals slope, and b equals the y-intercept. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's talk about it for a second. The slope of a line is pretty much the direction of a line. Okay, so it's the direction of a line. Now, when I'm talking about a line, let's think of a graph. Okay, so if I have a graph right there, okay, I got my x-axis, my y-axis. A line could look something like this. So see how it's a straight line? Okay, the slope is essentially the way this line is going. You see how it's going up like that? That is the slope right there. So I want you to imagine you're on a skateboard. Okay, you are on a skateboard like this, and you're going downhill. Now, I'm not an artist. Okay, I'm not an artist, but we're on a skateboard, and it looks like we're going down, right? If I were to draw a line kind of like that, it definitely looks like I'm going downhill. We would say that the hill I'm on has a slope, right? It is sloped downwards. Now imagine you're hiking, okay? You're hiking, and you're going up, okay? Going up. That is, again, you're at a slope, and you were going up. Okay, so the slope is the way the line moves. Now, in this case, okay, on this one, the line is moving up, right? Okay, now the y-intercept of a line, what I want you to do is we're going to draw an example of this. Go ahead and draw another graph. Then just draw yourself a line that looks something like this. Okay, there's the line. And so today what we're going to learn how to graph lines. Okay, the y-intercept, go ahead and put a dot right here. Okay, this line, so this axis right here is our y-axis. Okay, and here's the line on the graph. The y-intercept is where this line crosses the y-axis. Okay, I'm going to say it again. It's where the line on the graph crosses the y-axis. Okay, so let's make that note. Where a line crosses the y-axis. Okay, that is the definition of the y-intercept. And now, I promise it's going to make sense once we actually start doing examples. Just stick with me on this. Okay. So next page. Let's practice graphing a few examples. Well, first of all, let's remember, what is the name of the form we're using? Well, again, it is slope. Let's go ahead and write this. Slope-intercept form. Now, what do we think slope-intercept form shows us? Well, it shows us the slope of a line, and it shows us the y-intercept of a line. It's in the name right there, right? So let's go ahead and write, do you remember what the equation is for slope-intercept form? It was, these different colors, y equals mx plus what? Plus b. And then what does m stand for? So m stands for slope. So the slope of a line is m. And the b stands for the y-intercept. I'm going to abbreviate it as y-int, y-intercept. Okay, so let's look at our first equation. Okay, now this says y equals 4 over 5x plus 3. Now, again, let's just go back and look at this right here. Well, what is the number in front of x supposed to be? Well, that is our slope, right? Whatever the number in front of x is, that's our slope. So what is our slope in this equation? Well, the slope is right here. It's 4 over 5, right? That is in front of x. So we're going to put our slope is 4 over 5. Okay, now our y-intercept, like we said, is that last number right there, that plus b. So that is going to be plus 3. And now here's how you graph them. Okay, the way you graph these equations is you take your y-intercept. Let's remember what the y-intercept means. The y-intercept is where our line on the graph, it's where it crosses the y-axis. So look at your y-axis. Where is the number 3 on your y-axis? Well, it's right here, right? So go ahead and put a point at 3. So you'll always put a point at whatever number this is. And we're going to consider that kind of how we're going to start. Now the slope, there's a phrase we use for slope. We say rise over run. Now some people may have heard that before. The slope is considered the rise over run. So if my slope is 4 over 5, what that means is I'm going to rise 4 spaces, and I'm going to run, which means go to the right, 5 spaces. Okay, so what I do is I start where my y-intercept was. Remember, we put 3 right here. And then we're going to rise. We're going to go up 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces. Then we're going to go how many to the right? We're going to go 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we put a point right there. Okay? So now that's a good start. What we want to do is we want to see, can we put more points? So I'm going to go from here, and I'm going to go up 4 again. 1, 2, 3, 4. Well, I kind of go off the graph, so I'm not gonna put any more points this way. However, I do want to fill out. So the line is supposed to look something like this, right? It needs to go like that. So we need a point back this way. So what I'm gonna do is, instead of going up 4 to the right, I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, down 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that way. And now, do you see how that creates for us a nice line right here? Now what you're gonna do is you're gonna connect them all and continue it going straight and put arrows at the end. And so now with that, we have graphed our first line. And so now that might have been a lot right off the bat, but let's try another one. Okay, let's look here. We have y equals, now let's notice, this is negative. Y equals negative 2 over 3x plus 2. Well, what is our slope of this line? Well, the slope, again, is just what's in front of our x value. So we make it negative, or keep it negative, don't make it negative, but so our slope is our slope is just negative 2 over 3x. Don't include the x with the slope, okay, just leave it without the x. It's just negative 2 over 3. Then what's our y-intercept? Well, again, remember, it's this last digit right here. So our y-intercept is 2. So if you think you remember how to graph it yourself, go ahead and pause the video and try graphing it. If not, let's go ahead and do it now. So what you do is you start out now with the y-intercept, and you find a 2 on the y-axis. Okay, don't do the x-axis. You got to do the y-axis. So we'll put a point at 2 right here. Okay, and then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to follow our slope. Now, what was that phrase we used for slope again? It's rise over run. Now, here's the problem. Okay, here's the problem. Rise can mean up, but rise can also mean down. When do you think rise is going to mean down? Well, it's going to mean down when we have a negative fraction. So what that means is instead of going up, okay, the line is not going to go up like this. Because it is negative, the line is going to go down like this. So instead of going up 2 over 3, let's go down. Let's go down 2, then let's go over 3. Okay, we're still going to go to the right. Okay, but we're going to go down because it's negative. So down by 1, 2, then over 1, 2, 3 like that. So now do we see how it's starting to make this downward angle? So what we want to do is we want to graph really as many points as we can. So from where we just left off, go down 2 more, then over 3 again, just like that. Okay, so we can see this line really starting to take shape. So I'm going to go down 2 again, then I'm going to go over 3 again. And that looks like that's the last one I can fit on this side. Okay, now here's the thing though, the line keeps going that way. So I'm going to go up 2 over 3, so that way I can make, right here actually, so I can make the line continue on that way also. So up 2 over 3, we just want to keep that pattern going until we can't anymore. And that's about all the points I can fit. Now we should see how that makes a nice straight line on our graph. All right, and so let's do this one now. Y equals x minus 4. So what is our slope? Well, remember, we said our slope is the number in front of x, so over here it was negative 2 over 3. Well, here's the thing. I don't see a number in front of x. So what does that mean is in front of x when we don't actually have a number? Well, remember, it is 1. So what is our slope? Well, we have a slope of 1. However, okay, one more thing. Notice how all these slopes over here, these are all fractions, aren't they? And if we think of slope as rise over run, it has to be a fraction. So how can we change 1 into a fraction? Well, anytime you have a whole number, just make it a fraction and then put it over 1 again. So for example, if your slope just said 3, just put that over 1. Okay, since our slope is 1, we're going to do it 1 over 1. Now our y-intercept, do not just put 4. What is in front of the 4? Okay, a minus sign. So our y-intercept is negative 4. So we have to pay attention to those pieces right there. Okay, so remember, start with the y-intercept. So where is negative 4 on our y-axis? Well, it is right here. Okay, negative 4. Now our slope is 1 over 1, meaning we're going to go up 1 over 1. And make sure we notice it is a positive slope, so we go up. So when you have a slope of 1, you can fit a lot of points on there. If you go up 1 over 1, okay, you got a point there. Then up 1 over 1 again is there. You'll notice that it just kind of continues on like that. Okay, that is how we graph these. Now, if I wanted to continue it backwards, which I do, I would just do this. Okay, anytime you have a slope of 1, you're going to be able to fill in quite a few points. Okay, and that's how we do it. Okay, there you go. So those are our first 3 lines that we have graphed. Okay, so hopefully that didn't feel too bad. Hopefully that's all right. Now I'm going to try and go through the rest of this a bit quicker because I think we're coming up on about 20 minutes into the video now. I don't want to make it really more than about 30 or 35. Okay, so we're going to do the opposite now. So if you notice on here, they have given us a line. We have to make the equation by identifying the slope and the y-intercept. Now remember, this is slope-intercept form, written as y equals mx plus b. And if you noticed up here, all these equations, the y and the x just stayed y and x, right? However, everything else was a number. So in our equation, we're going to go ahead and have it as y equals. Then we're going to have our slope, then x, then we're going to have our y-intercept. So the easiest thing to pick out from a graph is the y-intercept. Because remember, the y-intercept is where this graph crosses the y-axis at. Well, that's super easy, right? It is just right there. So what number is that? Well, this is 0. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. Our y-intercept is 4. Look at that. Super easy. Now, how do you find the slope? How do we figure out what the slope is? Well, remember, with these, the slope is just like, okay, let's go down 2, then go over 1, 2, 3. Okay, down 2 over 1, 2, 3, just like that. That's how we're going to find this slope. Let's look closely. And do we see how we have a few points here on this graph? All you need are 2 points to find the slope of a line. If you have 2 points of the slope of a line, or if you have 2 points of a line, you can find the slope. So what we're going to do is let's use these two. Well, I'm not going to, might as well. Let's use these 2 points. We're going to see how much, let's start with the one on the left. Let's see how much it goes up, then how much it goes over. Well, it goes up 1, 2, 3. Go ahead and put a 3 right there. Okay, it goes up 3. Then how many does it go over? Well, it goes over 1. So what is our slope? Our slope is up 3 over 1. Now let's think back to the third equation over here. If we have a fraction with 1 on the bottom, what can we just write the slope as? 3. Okay, 3 over 1 is the same as 3. So the equation now is y equals, well, if we're going to do m, remember m stands for slope. So y equals 3, since that's our slope. Then x comes next, so we'll do y equals 3x. Now it's going to be our y-intercept lastly. So we have a positive 4, so we'll put plus 4. Now this is the equation of this line right here. All right, let's try this one. Now first thing to notice with this one, is this a positive or a negative slope? This is a negative slope, right? So whatever slope we get over here, it needs to be negative because it's going downward. Okay, if you're reading from left to right, it is going down. Now the easiest part of this is to find the y-intercept, which is just right there. Okay, so that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So our y-intercept is positive 5. Okay, and then our slope. Okay, and now to find the slope, let's just pick two points, okay? Because remember, you just need 2 points. Now I'll do this point, and then let's just go ahead and use this one we already have. So the y-intercept and this point. Now going from left to right, notice we have to go down, right? So let's go down 1, then we go over 1, 2, 3. So our slope is negative 1 over 3 because we go down 1, then we go over 3. So now go ahead and try and write that equation real quick. Go ahead and pause the video and write the equation. Well, it's going to be y equals, we have our slope of negative 1 over 3, then we have x, okay, plus our y-intercept of 5. So y equals negative 1 over 3x plus 5, and that is our equation. All right, and that is it for this page. Cool. So we made it through. Okay, I promise the more you do, this is a textbook example of something that the more you practice it, the better you get at it. So let's, okay, you could see the line, so we could see what the slope was. Go to the next page. Okay, what is the slope of a line? Okay, let's kind of dive into what the slope means a bit more. The slope of a line is the direction in that the line moves. Now the slope can be, let me make this font a little bit smaller. The slope can be positive. Okay, let's go ahead and write that, positive. It can be negative. It can be 0. Okay, you can have a slope of 0. A slope of 0 means you have a perfectly flat line. Think of just like you standing on a level surface that's not sloped at all. That means that's a slope of 0. And then a slope can also be this word called undefined. Okay, that is also a viable slope. And an undefined slope is one that goes directly up and down. So what that means is there's not really a slope because it's literally just like a cliff. Okay, there's no way to like kind of climb it or like ride a skateboard on or anything. It is just directly up and down. It's directly vertical, actually, is kind of what we would refer to it as. It's vertical. So here's some examples of each. So you can just look at these equations and know if the slope is positive or negative. Because where's the slope in this first equation? Well, the slope is just this 2, right? Because that's the slope. And then here's the y-intercept. So if I were to really quickly graph this, I would graph my y-intercept of negative 2 first. Then my slope is 2, which is positive. But remember, if I have a slope of 2, I need to put it over what number? Got to put it over 1, right? So we go up 2 over 1. So I'm going to count up 2 over 1. Okay, up 2 over 1, up 2 over 1. And now I want to fill it backwards, so I'm going to go down 2 over 1 like that. And now look at that, we have a perfectly straight line. I say perfectly, but I'm not good at making them straight. Anyways, all right, so the next one, we have a y-intercept of +1. Okay, super easy to start like that, y-intercept of +1. Now our slope is -3. Okay, so -3, that tells me we have a negative slope, meaning we're going to go down, then to the right. Well, what are we going to go to the right by? Well, again, remember, if you have a whole number on your slope, you're going to put it over 1. So we're going to go down 3 over 1, and that is our slope. Now it looks like I can fit another one right here, down 3 over 1. Then to go backwards, let me go up 3 over 1, just like that, right there. And we are good to go. Awesome. Okay, next we have y equals 4. Okay, remember our equation is in this form, y equals mx plus b. Well, what's missing here? Well, we do not have an x, therefore we do not have a slope. So all we have left is the what? Is the y-intercept, right? So where's the y-intercept? Well, it is at 4. Now, this case, if there's no slope, you have a slope of 0. And what do we say a slope of 0 looks like? Well, it's this one right here, right? The slope of 0 is flat. So what that means is you just go left and right. Cool. So that's super easy. Anytime you have one, so if you had like y equals -2, you just go to -2 on the y-axis, and boom, you have your line. So notice how this says x equals 5. That is the direct opposite. When you have x equals, that's when you have this vertical line, which is an undefined slope. So you would find 5 not on the y-axis, but what variable is this? X. So you'll find 5 on the x-axis, which is right here. And now we're going to go straight up and straight down. Okay, you won't see this very often. That's pretty uncommon. These are the types we're going to see most of the time. But we have to be aware of this, okay, because that will show up. All right, so the slope formula is used pretty much to find the slope of a line if you can't see that line. So with these graphs over here, we could see the line, or at least we were given the slope right here. Then on the previous. However, you might have a question that just gives you 2 points and it says what's the slope of that line, and what you use to find that is this right here, the slope formula. Now it looks a little tough, but it's really not. It's really not. This blank right here is slope. Okay, so this is used to find the slope of a line when you cannot see the line. So the formula, let's go ahead and write it ourselves. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, and I'm going to tell you what that means. So let's say you have a question that says you have a line that goes through the point 2, 3, and then it also goes through the point 6, 9. Okay, so if you remember, we said that every point has an x value and a y value. So that means this 2 right here is an x value, this 3 right here is a y value. Okay, the 6 right here is an x value, and this 9 right here is a y value. So this first set is our x1 and our y1. The second set is our x2 and our y2. So now all you have to do is take what these are labeled and put them in place in the formula. So on top we have y2 minus y1. Well, over here y2 is 9, so we'll do 9 minus y1, which is 3, over x2, which is 6, minus x1, which is 2. Okay, so 9 minus 3 is going to be 6, over 6 minus 2 is 4. So there we go, that's our slope. Although this should simplify, we would get 3 over 2. So our slope of the line that we can't see then is 3 over 2, meaning you would go up 3 over 2. Okay, so that's how you use the slope formula. So let's go ahead and do this one right here. So it says, what's the slope of a line that passes through the points 2, -3, and 6, 2? Well, let's go ahead and label our points first. We have x1 and y1, and then x2 and y2. And so remember what the formula is. It's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay. Alright, so we have x1 and y1, x2 and y2 right here. So all you have to do to find the slope is to plug them into our slope formula, which again, let's remember, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Okay, so we'll just plug these in where they go. So it starts with y2, that's going to be 2, minus y1. Now y1 is negative 3, so make sure we put in minus negative 3, over x2 is 6, minus x1 is 2, equals, on the bottom, 6 minus 2, we get 4. Now here, 2 minus negative 3 is really saying 2, it's really saying 2 plus 3. So that's going to be 5. So our slope here is going to be 5 over 4. Okay, I'm going to put m equals because m stands for slope. Alright, so this says, instead of saying what is the slope, this says what is the equation of a line. So remember, the equation is asking for y equals mx plus b. So we're going to write in that form. It wants to know what is the equation of a line that passes through these 2 points and has a y-intercept of 3. So remember, you can write the equation of a line as long as you have 2 things. All you need is the slope, which remember that is what m stands for, and you need a y-intercept. So that's why here it's asking to write the equation, because we can use the slope formula to find the slope, and then we have the y-intercept right here. So let's go ahead and find the slope. We have x1, y1, x2, and y2. Okay, so the formula is right here. So y2, which is 2, minus y1, which is 3, over x2 is 4, minus x1 is negative 2. Okay, so 2 minus 3 is going to be negative 1, over 4 minus negative 2, it's really going to be 4 plus 2, we'll get 6. Cool. So that is our slope, so m equals negative 1 over 6, and then our y-intercept, we don't have to do anything to find, it's already right there for us. So let's write the equation. It's going to be y equals negative 1 over 6, x, because negative 1 over 6 is our slope. Okay, so y equals mx, okay, we got that. Okay, plus b, so plus 3, and there's our equation. Alright, so let's talk about how to use slope-intercept in a word problem. So remember, slope-intercept is y equals mx plus b, and we want to use this to model a real-life situation. Okay, so Zach purchased a computer for $1,800. Okay, after 3 months, his balance was $1,350, and after 5 months, his balance was $1,050. Okay, write an equation that models this situation where the balance after a certain amount of months. Okay, so think of the starting point. The starting point is how much he owes, right? $1,800. That is going to be our y-intercept, meaning that's going to go right here. Okay, so, and then y and x just stay y and x. So let's start our equation as y equals, we don't know what's going to go in front of x, but we'll leave a space, we'll put x. Okay, plus our starting point of $1,800. Whoops, let me erase this. Okay, plus $1,800. Okay, so what is missing from this equation that we need to find real quick? Well, we're missing our slope, right? And put a little blank right there. We don't know where our slope is, but we can use the slope formula to find that. So remember, the slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. Now think about this. How many months passed before the first change in his balance that we know of? Well, 3 months did. So let's think of a point of 3, comma, 1,350. Okay, what this point says is that after 3 months, he has this much left in his bank, or that he owes for the computer. Okay, now the next one is 5, right? So after 5 months, he owes $1,050. So look at that, we have 2 points. Okay, we have 2 points. We have an x1 and a y1, and an x2 and a y2. So let's go ahead and find the slope now. So y2 minus y1, okay, over x2, okay, minus x1. Alright, so what's 1,050 minus 1,350? That's going to be negative 300. Okay, and now 5 minus 3, that's going to be 2, right? That kind of looks like a negative 2, but it should be positive, so it's going to be negative 300 over 2. Now, we can simplify that real quick. Hopefully we know that simplifies to become negative 150, or negative 150 over 1. But if it's over 1, we don't have to put the 1. So our slope is going to be negative 150. So now, what this equation says right here is that that each month he pays off $150 of the original $1,800 that he owes. That's what he's doing in this situation, and that's what this question asks. What is the slope? So what does the slope represent? Well, the slope represents how much money he pays off. How much money he pays. Okay, and then the y-intercept represents his starting balance. It was like the starting point. Let me say starting balance. Okay. So now, just to kind of wrap up here, okay, a couple final questions. Let's make the equation for this. Now, the equation, remember, you need two things. You need the slope, and you need the y-intercept. Well, which one's easier to find right off the bat? Well, it's the y-intercept, right? It's obviously just right there, which is at what point? What's at 1? Really, the point is 0, 1, because it's 0 in the x. But the y-intercept is just 1. Now the slope is going to be, let's take this point and then our y-intercept, and let's see. We go down 1, then we go over 2. So if we go down 1, it's going to be a negative 1. Then if we go over 2, we'll just do 2. So we have a slope of negative 1 over 2. So we'll write the equation for that. Y equals negative 1 over 2 x plus 1. Okay, now this last one, there's no points given to us, but we can go ahead and find the points. Looks like there's a point right here. Looks like there's a point right here. Okay. Now with this one, we've done so much today. We're not going to talk about. So this y-intercept's not going to be a whole number. We're not going to talk about how to find that today. We're just going to kind of estimate it. Let's call that. That looks about like maybe 0.75. So we'll call our y-intercept. So our y-intercept is going to be about 0.75. Okay. Now there is a way to find this exact value, but we're not going to do that in this video. And our slope, which again, remember it could be written as m, is down 1 over 1, 2, 3. So negative 1 over 3. That equation will be y equals negative 1 over 3x plus 0.75. Alright, and it's on you to do that last one, then the rest of that page that is after this. Make sure y'all complete all that. Then there will be some homework, but the homework has a video that I've made that I'll send out over the weekend that will go over all of it for you. Make sure you watch the video in its entirety. And with that being said, y'all have a great day.